This is the Veterinary Project Podcast, episode 00J.
Welcome to the show created by vets featuring absolutely no pets. This is the Veterinary Project Podcast, hosted by Dr. Michael Bugg and Dr. Jonathan Leicht. Our resident veterinarians have swapped out their stethoscopes in favor of microphones to bring you the Veterinary Project Podcast, a show focused on real conversations, aimed to connect this amazing profession full of remarkable people. Through the sharing of collective stories and wisdom, and connecting over the many unique challenges we face, we invite you to join our community of veterinary professionals leading intentional lives. And now, here are the hosts of the Veterinary Project Podcast, Dr. Michael Bugg and Dr. Jonathan Leicht.
Hello and welcome. This is the Veterinary Project, episode 00J. I am your co-host, Dr. Michael Bugg, and with me is our co-host, our co-founder, but also today he's on the hot seat, Dr. Jonathan Leicht.
That is correct. Mike, great energy to start the episode here, and we've got a lot to dive into today.
Yeah.
How did his first interview? I think he did fantastic.
How did you feel? How did it feel sharing kind of your stories and your background?
Hey, there's uncomfortableness there from being on the hot seat, but I think we made the most of it. We went into some deep conversation, and I hope it's entertaining for everybody out there.
Yeah. I mean, there are some entertaining moments, but I really do believe, Jonny, you have more wisdom and more pearls of knowledge than you give yourself credit for through your vast experience, as we'll dive into.
I guess we'll see about that right away here, and whether people agree with you or not.
Absolutely. Okay. Without further ado, let's dive in. All right. Ready to do this?
I've been ready my whole life.
Good.
Like I said,
I have that on recording. All right. Welcome, everyone. This is our first official episode of the Veterinary Project. I'm affectionately calling it episode 00J for Jonny.
And we're already starting.
Yeah. So a little bit different than other episodes are going to be, as we have one of our very own, our co-host, our co-founder, Dr. Jonathan Leicht with us today. Jonny has probably the most diverse veterinary career that I am aware of, or at least that I know personally. And he was supposed to send me a bio, but he didn't. So I get to kind of wing it here. Jonny is a WCVM 2009 graduate. He lives in Calgary, which he'll tell you is God's country. And I can't believe you wore that shirt for the interview.
Have to represent Alberta, especially right now. It's gonna rankle people, and I'm like, I love it.
Oh, that's just perfect. I had that in there. I was like, I gotta rip on Calgary a little bit.
Even the way you say Calgary is not correct.
How are you supposed to say it? How are you supposed to say it?
You're saying it the Saskatchewan way. So for all of our listeners right now, it's Calgary. Calgary. In Saskatchewan, they love to say it as Calgary, which
I guess.
Yeah, makes no sense whatsoever. But I love it.
Oh man, I never even noticed that. Okay, well, whatever. I'm sticking with Calgary because that's what I know. Okay, well, let's just jump right in here, Jonny. So, when we were kind of getting ready for this interview, we went through your past, and you and I speak weekly, and there was still stuff that I had forgotten about you. You've done that much kind of in your life, like being in the military. I had completely forgot about.
Me too.
The fact that you're an avid woodworker now. Apparently.
Avid beginner. At best beginner. Let's make this very clear. Not avid.
That one blew my mind when you said that, but we'll get to that. So why don't we jump in here, Jonny? Why don't you take us back to Jonny as a wee little one, and you're growing up in Calgary, and kind of paint a picture of how your veterinary journey started.
Okay, I can start with that. So born and raised in Calgary up to the age of 14, and had a pretty normal, I would say, straightforward life. It was great. I have two sisters, and we did all the things a normal family did. And I grew up playing hockey. That would be my main sport, and had been since age of 5. specific to veterinary medicine, we were chatting about this a little bit. Literally my first encounter in veterinary medicine was right around that 8, 9, 10 years of age. So I have 2 cats. I've always had cats. We've had dogs through the years, but cats are where it's at, and we'll chat about that later. So my first experience is actually at Calgary North Veterinary Hospital, and that's in Calgary. It is a large hospital. I think right now it has about 20 doctors. And at 10 years of age there, went in, had the chance to tour with Dr. Drew Van Niekerk, who was one of the, he was an associate, then an owner, sold to ABC, and then, was part of the VCA Canada group. And he toured me around. And in that tour, we took a picture of it. And it's showing scopes, and it's my mom, myself, and one of our cats, and then Drew. And what is fantastic about it is that I got to 20 years later take that picture, or 20, 25 years later, and show it to Drew, because I became the general manager of that hospital. And just such a great 360 all around.
Yeah.
I remember volunteering there at 13 years old, and unfortunate incident, but one that sticks in my head as a setup for life in veterinary medicine. Volunteer, unfortunately in euthanasia, somebody has to put them in bags, and we set them up for going off for cremation as to the choice of the owner, and this big heavy black lab, and I couldn't get it down the stairs, and it's so bad. But
what happened, Jonny?
He ended up, I couldn't lift him. I didn't have the muscles, and he ended up falling on me, and I felt so bad, and he ended up going down a couple of stairs. I'll leave it at that. I got him picked up. We looked after him very well, but it stuck in my head. And that same building, it's same place, ended up managing it, loved it. And unfortunately, Drew has since passed this year, and such an amazing mentor to so many veterinarians, and had such a great presence in the Calgary community. So I do need to mention that, because he impacted so many people's lives. But that to me was the start of my inkling of, hey, do I go into veterinary medicine? Always did well in school. I was never the smartest, but could make my due. And it was at age 14, took the conscious choice to leave Calgary, ended up moving to Saskatchewan to a place called Notre Dame, which is a private school out there that focuses in on hockey as well as academics. So I don't know if you want to go there yet or not.
Well, I mean, I want to quick pause on back to Calgary North. I mean, I didn't know this Dr. Drew, so I mean, obviously, I'm sorry to hear of that.
Yeah.
But what an amazing story of coming full circle. You said you were age 10 or 11 or 12, volunteering at a vet clinic that 20 some years later you're the general manager of. It
was pretty amazing.
Pretty cool. And so when you were back at volunteering there, I think you've mentioned to me your career choices were shortlisted to 2, right?
That's correct. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. So
ever since I was a kid, it was either make the NHL or be a vet.
Yeah.
And obviously I'm a vet now, so the NHL didn't happen.
Well, I mean, I've sniped quite a few goals on you in hockey.
You've pretended to snipe, and so I am a goalie in hockey. Mike and I have played for years together and had a lot of fun.
Yeah. So I guess that does kind of lend us into maybe not undergrad, but high school. When you came out to Saskatchewan to Notre Dame, was it?
That's correct.
Yeah. So yeah, let's continue, I guess, on the journey. Okay. Now you found it. You came to Saskatchewan. You saw the light. Wow. I didn't even mean the pun on words there, but it came out. So let's go there now.
Yeah, we can go there. So I was at Notre Dame for 4 years. So 4-year hound, as it's called, for those that have been there. Tough couple of years. So I went there in grade 9. Grade 9, I was still a boy by all standards.
Were you a late bloomer?
I was a late bloomer. Let's call it what it is. Around 16. So actually pretty normal, I would say. But grade 9 and 10 were hard. It was still original Notre Dame in the style of old boy, new boy. And what that means is that there were certain expectations from a new boy, from the new guy in there for the old guys. We're in a dorm setup, which was, again, coming from, standard upbringing, et cetera. Took some getting used to. had some great friends there that, again, made it worthwhile. From a hockey standpoint, I did not do as well as I wanted to or should have. And what really came to the forefront was that support that my family, my parents, my mom and dad had as a backup. And when you're on your own and you've left home at at grade 9, it makes it a lot tougher. Academically, still did well and was very comfortable that way. Took on a few other activities. I always joke for Notre Dame that I ended up doing better in football and academics than what I actually, went there as a start to do, which was play hockey.
You played football?
It sure played hockey. Yeah, we didn't even talk about that in pre.
What?
Yeah.
What position did you play?
Cornerback, and then on the special team. Yeah, made the All-Stars my grade 12 year, and nice. We had a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, we ended up losing in provincials in my grade 12 year, unfortunately, to a bigger Regina team. But we had a lot of fun. So nice. At the end of it, grade 12, I knew I was definitely not getting a hockey scholarship by grade 11. So let's get serious on the academics. So made some tours, as everybody does, to see what university they want to go to. And U of S was the choice I made, which is University of Saskatchewan up in Saskatoon.
Yeah. And I'm assuming, did you make that choice at that time because it was like the only Western Canadian choice available?
No, not at all. No. So I could have come back to Calgary and done my undergrad at U of C or gone up to Edmonton. The reason I chose Saskatoon was because the college was there.
Sorry, that's what I meant, as the only veterinary college, because you were still tracking as a veterinarian.
That's correct. Yeah. So by grade 11, I was looking at what the different programs were, and animal science program seemed like the best fit.
Okay.
Cool. I'd been in Saskatchewan for a while. I was already a resident of Saskatchewan. It made it an easy transition. Let's just continue up in Saskatoon. So, decided to go do my undergrad there.
Okay. So I know you did a couple years of undergrad, and then quite a curveball in your life by your choosing. You went off to the military. Now that's pretty unique. I need to hear about that, sort of like what prompted that choice, because that's quite a pivot. And then let's hear about some of the experiences in the military.
So how do I put this? I can't really tell you the exact reason why I chose to go into the military. And I think they actually had a booth set up, as they do at all the different universities. I said, oh, that's interesting. And it was the Navy Reserves. I'm in Saskatoon on the prairies, hundreds and thousands of kilometers away from any ocean. So truthfully, I don't know what I was thinking, but I thought it would be a fun experience. Every summer since I was 14, I had done construction or volunteered and worked in an animal clinic. I said, after first year undergrad, let's go try something different. That was the difference. And why I chose the military, again, no choice. But it sounded, the more I got into looking about it, we had to go to boot camp in Ontario my first year out of undergrad. And it was 6 to 8 weeks of working out, having fun. And yes, it was hard, but again, similar to Notre Dame, you put yourself in a dorm setup, which I was already used to. It was a blast. And there's people within that group that I still chat with now. And that was a long time ago. So to the actual, it was good.
Well, I have the benefit here of knowing you far better than most of our listeners right now. I didn't even know it was Navy Reserves. I thought it was just military. So that makes it even funnier to me because you've always been one where it doesn't really matter how outlandish the idea might sound or seem, your game. And even the way you frame that there, it was 6 to 8 weeks of working out and having fun. When I think of going to military boot camp, which I have not done, this is just what I think it would be. Fun is not a word I would describe it with. So let's talk about that a little bit. Like, you have this uncanny ability to frame everything as positive.
True. I am an optimist, and sometimes to my own detriment.
Yeah, you are the eternal optimist for sure. But correct. So I don't even know. I'm putting you on the spot here. Like, can you, like, where does that come from? Is that just always been the case? Like,
It's that's a good question, Mike. And here's those courageous conversations where, for our listeners, Mike really wants to get deep. He doesn't want this to be just surface level. So I know where he's going here. I'm I'm on to you.
I'm glad you do, because I don't. I honestly don't.
I think it's two things. So when I was younger, so we had a pretty disciplined upbringing, in which I mean that we had strict rules within our house, but we also had the context of being able to play and have fun. But there were certain levels of behavior that you had to stick to. And, I'm proud of that. And my mom and dad set us up well that way. And so therefore there was already discipline in my life. And so the behaviors that I think then that turned into optimism was, I had the discipline. I knew that if I carried through with discipline even early in life, that good things happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked. And for the most part, it worked. So therefore, if I worked hard in school, good things happened. If I worked hard in sports, for the most part, good things happened. And so that carried forward, and bad things happen in life to everyone. At that point in my life, I had not had a lot of negativity in life. So therefore, I think bred optimism. I'm not as naive now than I was then. And life has hit me in some ways. We can chat about that. But at that point, I think it was a great breeding ground for optimism.
Yeah. So basically, like, I'm hearing this for the first time. If I was to try to summarize that, it's that you have like that framework of discipline. You trust the process that with hard work, basically, and a good attitude, you can kind of accomplish anything.
Yeah, good things happen. And when they don't, then you take that as a lesson and figure out what to do next. Because even for the military, I'll give you like Navy Reserves. Again, when I came back, we had to go then do exercises. And because we didn't have even a big lake around Saskatoon, we would go into the hotel pools. So I'm thinking in the back of my head, what am I doing here? I am a non-commissioned officer, or a non-commissioned member. So I'm not even an officer. I'm a bosun. I'm the lowest of the lowest ranks, playing in a hotel pool. We got the chance to go out to Victoria, which was cool, and do some exercises out there. But on the overall, in my view, once I got back, I was like, this is not where I want to be. This is a failure. But there's so much I learned from that. That I've carried forward. So again, I think that's a perfect example. Maybe I should have thought through it a little bit more, but guess what? I was 19 years old, had just gone through 1 year of undergrad, was having fun.
Yeah, why not? So, I mean, kind of on that tangent, I'm going to just keep going down that a little bit. In my kind of entire time knowing you, you are always doing challenges, right? Like, you are up for any sort of challenge. Like, I know, like, on the health front, you've done that 75-day challenge with me. You're always doing like,
I failed, by the way, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah. Like no sugar, intermittent fasting. You're always pushing yourself in some capacity. And so I'm assuming that's like a place where you can exercise that discipline and maybe grow it. So I don't know if you can just speak to like what drives you to always want to be challenging yourself.
I think it's we were joking about this before, and again, I'm going to get vulnerable here, but I want to enjoy as much of life as possible. There's so many experiences in life that we have options to either partake in or to choose and say no. And I would rather say yes and take that chance and fail than not try at all. So one of the movies that I really love is Forrest Gump. And we were joking about this beforehand. And I love it from the standpoint of all the different experiences. Yes, he sometimes didn't know what he was doing, but he got to experience so much in life. And I want to ensure that when I'm 80, 90, 100 years old, that I've had that opportunity now with my family, my wife, my businesses, all the rest of it, to have taken in as much as possible. Yeah. We only live once. So therefore, if I can be disciplined and set up certain habits that lead to more chance of success, whatever success is defined by, and it changes based on the activity, then we're better off. And I also want to be healthy. That's something that's really important. So I want to be 90 and being able to do squats still and go skiing. In order to do so, you got to put the reps in now.
Yeah, man, there's so much I want to dive into there. I mean, first off, the thing that jumps out at me is just that attitude, like of let's go do it. We can do anything. I have a mentor who's kind of coined the phrase, like, say yes and figure it out later. And that's exactly you. And like, I've hung out with you And sometimes you're hard to keep up with. And I mean that in like the best way possible. Cause like
my former boss would say all the time, he says, yeah, you're going too fast and you're leaving people in the background and you have to slow down sometimes.
Yeah. So, you know, for me, and like, I consider myself somewhat adventurous, but nothing almost compared to you. And I think what holds a lot of people back and holds me back is fear, right? Like stepping out into a new situation, trying something new. Fear of failure would be the first thing that comes to mind, like fear of looking bad.
Yep.
How do you deal with that? Like, does that just not register for you, or does it register and you just have an amazing way of dealing with it or reframing it?
I think, again, to the setup of life and habits, you know, I started public speaking when I was in elementary school, literally. So,
but you are like textbook extrovert.
Yes, I am. So then it's easier. There's no doubt about it. That puts me in my personality style to be more out there with people. No doubt. But I can still remember, I can still picture being in front of the 300 people in that school in grade 6. And, you know, having a memorized speech because we're in a competition. And that, I think, was amazing as a setup for life.
Did you stick to the speech?
I had no choice. I had memorized it.
Oh, okay. I could see you going off script for sure.
Yeah. And that has led to issues later on in life when I have to do a speech where I'm going, oh, shoot, I can't memorize this because people are going to wing things at me. And for sure in my career now, that's the way it is. So I think the fear of failure is there. I just think that compounded habits and some discipline and some luck has played into me being comfortable going out there more. And I would also say now, you know, my wife, my family, my friends, I've surrounded myself with people that are also, you know, on that same journey in different variances. You know, you're no different. Yeah. You know, you say you're not as adventurous, and you are. And I think that's made a big difference as well too.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still to go, like, I know for me, before I step out into something, there's so much conversations of fear in my head going on. And from the outside looking in with you, it doesn't appear like there's fear. It doesn't appear like those conversations are happening. So I still want to, like, I'm kind of trying to go there and see like they must be happening, or are they not? Like, I don't understand.
Sometimes they're there and sometimes they're not. So in physical setups, I would say they're more not there. I just go for it, you know, whether it's trying a new activity or jumping off something I probably shouldn't be. And I'm trying to put that into my kids right now as an example for this podcast, though, the exact opposite. I've been having the conversation in my head and set up for this first podcast for months and months. And so there's where there's been a huge fear factor. We're putting ourselves out there to the public in a way that can't be taken back. Yeah. Because we believe that there is a benefit that is above us for the veterinary profession. That I have been fearful of.
Yeah.
I have worked in the corporate setting for the last 6 years where there are certain things that are allowed to be put out to the public and not because of the setups that are. I am out of that. I've been out of that for the last 7 months. And I was telling you this 2 weeks ago. I've kind of just finally hit a switch where I feel more free and open. And that's not a knock against those companies because they're fantastic. It's the setup more of the companies themselves, the being corporate, so to say. And we can talk a lot more about that.
Yeah.
But
even
therefore,
or even in our, like, I know in our sort of pre-interview, if we want to call it that, and all of our back and forth, one of the conversations we had was for getting out of character, right? Like taking the masks off, and like there shouldn't be a character or a mask that we're wearing. Like, people want to hear from the real Jonny, you know, Jonny Leicht.
You're hilarious. That's what this is about.
Okay. And so, I mean, I had a little bit of a script to follow, but we're on so many tangents. I want to jump back. You only touched on it briefly, but you said, like, even in your house and with your kids and jumping off things they shouldn't, or maybe that are too high or whatnot. I mean, and I've been to your house, and one thing that I've observed, which is amazing, do you know what you say every time your kids like hurt themselves or fall or do anything where most parents would sort of rush over and play to the like, oh, are you hurt? Is everything okay? Do you know what you say, or is it subconscious?
Maybe to a degree. Yep.
Do you know the words?
No, I don't.
You say nice moves, Jack, nice moves, Rachel. And I've always noticed that. And it's honestly, it's something I admire, like as Riley gets older here. And I'm kind of trying to like tie that all together as I watch you with like seemingly no fear of failure. And then what you're instilling in your kids at such a young age is when they like quote unquote fail by falling off something or falling down, you never say something negative. You encourage it. Every time they fail, you encourage them.
Try to. Yep. That I would agree fully. And I want that for them.
Were you like, was that something that you and Candace sat down and were conscious of, that like, this is how we're going to raise our kids? Or is it just so hardwired in you that it just comes out?
I think it's hardwired in both of us. That's just not purely me. That's Candace as well too. I would say in both of us, it's a want and desire for our kids to be self-sufficient, but also go out there and try.
Yeah. I think it's amazing, man. Like I'm like
that. I've not
one of my best parenting tips like comes from you and Candace. And that's something we're going to try implement here.
Yeah, no, it works. And again, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Hey, I think it's great. I think it's the best way to be. Okay, I'm going to try and bring us back on track so we can keep moving. So you finished your career in the Navy Reserves, and then
So I'll close that up.
Tie a bow on.
Year and a half, tie it in a bow. Year and a half. Choice to become an officer or go do something else. I chose to go do something else. I was done. Appreciated the experience, but let's sign out.
Yes. So I don't know. I might not have my timeline right here, but then you become an assistant game ranger in Africa.
That is correct.
That's quite a pivot. Let's see how do we end up there.
So 2 years into undergrad, the marks were not where they needed to be. We were having fun. Animal science and agriculture and being an agro was fantastic. But if I wanted to be serious and actually get into vet school, I needed to change some things around. And at that point, I didn't know if I wanted to go down that route. So the best way of doing so, let's go travel. And I've wanted to go to Africa since I can ever remember. This was 2001. And so I said, after it was about halfway through the second year of undergrad, said, I'm out of here. So I'm going to take a year off school. And South Africa is a place that I've always wanted to go to. And so started to make that happen. So planned for it, finished my second year up, and worked for that summer, tried to get as much money as possible, and then traveled to Cape Town in October of 2000 and spent 3 months there. Had a blast of a time, enjoyed it, partied, do everything that you do in the Cape Town setting, and then had the opportunity to get onto a game reserve through some contacts I had here in Canada. Didn't know what I was doing there. Was just going to volunteer, and before you know it, they put me in as a host, assistant game ranger, of which I had no idea of what I was doing. But again, just to the experience of figuring it out, and had an absolute blast. So that was another 3.5 months.
See, and like for me, it just makes me laugh because there it is again. Like you have no clue what you're doing. Like you're an assistant game ranger, like host. So like, does that mean like if I was a tourist and I come to Africa, like you would be leading me around and like,
we did boat tours, and that was correct. I was in charge of the boat. And there was hippos in that water.
You could lean on your vast Navy reserve.
My vast Navy experience. Yeah. And again, from hosting. So when I went to Cape Town, I got a job as a server in a top 10 restaurant. And so that's something you and I haven't even spoke about. I needed a job when I was in South Africa because I hadn't made enough money to sustain to what we were doing. And so by that time I had been a server in a restaurant. I knew a little bit about hosting already. Again, having a personality style, it made it a little bit easier for me. So then, yes, once we got out there, I was helping out with the rangers themselves, whether it was tracking or, you know, for the research portion of it, or just making sure people had what they needed. And your volunteer setup, room and board was looked after. And
yeah. I mean, I'm like, you're right. We hadn't chatted about that. I was aware that you did some serving here in Saskatoon. I don't know if that was undergrad or vet school.
Both. Yeah.
And
afterwards.
I'm just seeing, like, the other interesting thing about you is like the range that you'll go to, right? Like you can play in any end of the pool. And I don't even mean that to like make fun of the Navy reserves more, but like, it doesn't matter the task, whether you're in a leadership role, whether you're more in a like, hey, we just need someone to do this task and get it done. It seems like you're can be like a utility knife. Like wherever we need you, we'll plug you in.
Yep. That was always my goal. And I think that's, you know, my dad, and working for my dad was, you know, if there's a broom there, you go pick it up and push it. And it doesn't matter what position you're at, you do it. If there's something to be cleaned up. Same thing with the vet hospitals, vet clinics. If you need to go do something, go do it. Don't wait for somebody else to do it.
Okay. I'm going to keep us moving because I want to get to more of your career. So I know you did some sales with a chemical company with Dow Agro. I think most of our listeners, if they know of you, sales is something that you've been in for a long time. And we'll get to that when you come through vet school. So we'll come back to sales stuff. So now you're in vet school, up in Saskatoon. And I mean, even in vet school, your list of things that you like took on and were active in. So I know you were a pet food rep.
Yep.
We chatted, like, even you went on the trip to Kentucky with the equine club, I think it was.
Yeah.
And it's like that, like, to me, that's comical because, like, have you ever touched a horse?
Yes. That's so good. So when I was 16, I worked at Okotoks Animal Clinic, which was a fantastic equine facility at that point. It no longer exists in that fashion. But yeah, I worked there for 2 years and 2 summers and loved it, and thought, hey, maybe I go become an equine doctor, of which, no, I shouldn't have been an equine doctor. But third year vet school, there was an opportunity to do an equine rotation. And part of that was heading down to Kentucky and having some fun with friends and learning. Done.
Man, I know, like, I'm not trying to like keep coming back to it, but I can't get over how impressed I am by your willingness to put yourself just in over your head beyond belief with the confidence that you'll just figure it out.
Yep. That's what we can do.
Yeah. It's amazing, man. Okay. So anything you want to touch on in vet school?
Oh, definitely. Just shortly, that for Western College of Veterinary Medicine, we had a blast of a time. You know, my theme for vet school was work hard and play hard. You know, vet school is not easy. And right from year one, knew for a fact I wasn't there to get 90s. That was not the plan. I was going to do well, but I was always going to be in that middle range, and that was completely fine with me. Do well, learn the courses, but we had some great people in vet school. We had a blast. There were some great parties, some great adventures, did some traveling, got the chance to go back to Africa again in 4th year, did a rotation in Costa Rica, which we went there for 2 months with some friends. Like, the opportunities in vet school are unlimited to your scope and time. And it was a lot of fun. So yeah, decided, 2008, had the opportunity for a summer work at a large hybrid hospital. So GP emerged back here in Calgary. They shouldn't have rehired me for 4th year, and they'd probably say sometimes they shouldn't have. But they taught me a lot, and that was Fish Creek Pet Hospital, and had a blast and had some really good mentorship there. So, just heading into the end of 4th year, a friend of mine, really good friend, Devin, and myself, we signed up to join there. So vet school was a blast. I look at it as one of the greatest times of my life. Opportunity, to get to meet a lot of individuals through the different roles that I had there, that a blast just to still go into the different clinics in Western Canada and get to meet people. We have not seen each other in 6-8 years, but can still, reconnect.
Yeah. And that's where we met. You and I became great friends through that journey. And everyone, like, in the veterinary world, it seems like, anyway.
No, there's people, and we're going to have a guest on here that knows a lot more than me. I'm specific to Western Canada and opportunities, and yeah, there's some great people in veterinary medicine, that's for sure. So
yeah, I agree. Okay. So that first job, so you self-admittedly said they should not have hired you. What was that first year like?
it was tough. It was really tough. It was a learning curve like this. So emerge GP, we had an internist in our team. It was I always call it a high paid internship, and that to me is a disrespect to those that have now done internships. So I've taken that away because internships are so much more. But it was just such a steep learning curve. And I joke that I remember having dates with my wife on a Saturday night watching hockey, waiting for the next emergency to come in, because that's what it was.
Yeah.
And sometimes we were 6 deep with people just waiting to see us because we had a great setup. It was a great clinic. It still is a great clinic. But there was work to be done. And it was all encompassing that first year. And truthfully, I wouldn't want it any other way. Like the ability to get into surgeries, the ability to see internal medicine, the ability to learn what it means for communication with clients that need you. It set up my career to where it is now. Yep.
Yeah. I know you speak extremely highly of that experience. And I remember when we were chatting about it, I don't mean to like put you on the spot, but you had told me one story about sneaking off to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Can you share that with everyone?
At the time, like we were in a 3,500 square foot place, right? Where there was 9 doctors, I believe, at the time that I came on, right around there. And your only place to disappear sometimes was the bathroom. When we speak about this for the Veterinary Project, that was my place to get away. If it was only 5 minutes, it was just I can do this. Or, when's the end of the day going to happen? Or what the heck am I going to do with that case that's sitting there plus the 3 others? Like, it was not easy.
Yeah. See, and I the reason I wanted to like kind of bring that out is because, for people listening, you were on the far end of the spectrum for, like we've talked about, the positivity and the boldness to just step into things. But even on that end of the spectrum, you still occasionally have to take that time out, gather your thoughts, collect your breath, and then charge back in.
Still do to this day, even more now than I did before, because again, I think my nativity is no longer there. And I realize both what's at stake, implications for the teams I'm working with and for the clients that we're serving. I made some major mistakes that first year. I can still remember that, both from a medicine standpoint and just some communication, and you learn from that. But those things again set you up. So it's not easy, and nor should it be. Yeah. And you know what? I had some mentors there. They're fantastic. They weren't easy on us, but they weren't super hard on us. But, they had expectations, as they should have. Yeah.
And I'm just thinking here, like, that's one of the interesting things, even what we're trying to do here with our like veterinary project and the conversations in veterinary medicine. There's no way to make it easy. That's just not possible. Like, the practice of veterinary medicine is not and will never be easy.
Correct.
Yeah. So I think it's more about like learning how we can operate within that like framework, right? Like there is no easy button that we can just hit and all of a sudden away we go.
We've not chosen a career that you can just sit down and let 8 hours go by and then go home and get paid, amazingly well. That's not what this career is about. I always talk about it with new grads or, in a couple of my roles. This is the art of veterinary medicine.
Yeah.
And all of us are taking it from a different perspective. And if we have that base, both from a medicine and communication out to our clients and the teams that we work with, we will be successful, but that success will look different. And there's stress involved in that success.
Yeah.
There is work that has to be done.
Yeah. Okay. Quick tangent, just because you said it. What is success to you?
Well, you really put me on the spot.
I know. Sorry, I'm not trying to catch you off guard, but I want to know the answer to this. We'll come back to it if you need a minute.
Well, no, I think success goes back to an Instagram post that you recently put forward. There is small, measurable steps forward towards an end or towards a goal. And what I think I'm learning more and more is by having different goals set up over time, I might not achieve them, but I've still moved forward further than where I would have been if I hadn't started. And that's so there are different challenges, etc. I'm not successful in some of them. some of my roles that I've had over the last 10 years, I wouldn't consider them complete successes, but I sure have learned. I think I've helped, and it's gained me experiences now for where I am in my career. So I think that I would be considered success.
Okay. So that that progression forward.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. Cause you do have like an unrelenting, like forward pursuit to you.
Yep. And sometimes that's good and sometimes that's bad.
And even let's sort of kind of quickly pivot and just because this episode's a touch different in that, I mean, you are one of the co-hosts here of this project that we're starting. And when we came together and this was just an idea, and I remember I came out to Calgary sitting right in that office on that whiteboard, and we were like, hey, we had 2 days to like whiteboard this. And our goals were to come away with a decision, yes or no. And then if the answer was yes, what does that look like?
Yep.
And one of my most pressing questions, and I remember when I was driving out there, it was bothering me because I didn't know how I was going to ask you this, and I didn't want to upset you. But it was the question I needed answered to know if this was a go or not. And I can't remember how I phrased it, but it was like, Jonny, you're kind of like a pinball in the sense of like you have a career, you have a role for 1 or 2 years, then it's a new role, and you're
3 or 4 years. Let's put 3 or 4 years on that.
Years. And I mean, we're just getting like, I'm gonna have to speed up because we still haven't even gotten to your like VCA days.
Keep going. This is good.
But yeah, so the question, my main concern, and I was, is this a 2-year thing for you? Like in 2 years, are you going to be gone? Like, will you be sort of by my side for the long haul?
Yeah.
And you had an amazing answer. I don't know if you even remember what it was.
Nope.
But yeah, it was,
I think along the lines of what it is for the profession, what we're trying to do, and what the setup for this podcast and this project and everything is. Correct? Is that where you were going?
That's where but I mean, it's your answer. It can be whatever you want.
I just look at it and I go, like, veterinary medicine is my life, my career. It's my home, my colleagues. It's what I want to help improve whatever way we can. And so if this project that we've decided to take on in this podcast and saying yes, just moves the dial just a little bit, or we can bring people together in the fashion that you and I are good at, we will help this industry. And that's what I am about. That's why I love it. And that's why, again, in the different roles, they are always going to be within veterinary medicine, because this is the place where I am and I want to be here. Yep.
Yeah. That was basically how you said it. And I mean, right when you said it, all my worries were gone, because it made sense to me. I was like, you're right. Everything you have done like as a veterinarian is always to try and move the profession forward in some capacity.
Trying.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to bring us back here a little bit.
Let's do that.
So then you went on and locumed for a while, then into a sales role with drug company, and moved down to Seattle. I kind of want to touch on that because this is classic Jonny again.
Yep. So I was with Novartis Animal Health, which unfortunately no longer exists. They were purchased by Eli Lilly, Elanco, and had the opportunity to take on what's called a key account management role down in Washington State. So went and interviewed for the role and wanted something more. And again, great mentorship from my original regional manager, who is now a personal friend.
Yeah.
She is definitely a personal friend of mine now, which is amazing. And Candace and I decided we were going to go down to Seattle and take on the role. And we'd never even visited Seattle, and said, this is an opportunity. We don't have kids yet. What other time are we going to? So, worked with Novartis and went down there, and it was unbelievable. It was tough. A tough first 3 months getting settled and figuring out living in the US and everything that goes with it. Unfortunately, within the year, Novartis moved into a sales situation with Elanco, and therefore, we had some budget cuts and change in travel. I was responsible for Washington State and Oregon State, working with our top 50 accounts. And I was supposed to be Alaska, but never got the chance to go up there. But we had a blast. Met people that I just, we just went for a ski trip with them 2 months ago. It was amazing. The opportunities to travel. We were making good money at that point. We didn't have kids. We were gold.
I know. Hey, and I took the opportunity to get you on the Seahawks bandwagon when
You sure did. I didn't even know what the color of the Seahawks were the first game we were watching that in September 2014. And now Candace has a jersey. I have a jersey. We had the chance to go to the Super Bowl. It was not to the game itself, but just outside and had fun with friends. Take it in. Amazing.
Dang. So on that, what I take away from that experience is you and Candace up and move to a new country. I mean, it's only Canada to the States, so it's not like it's a huge jump, but to a city you had never even visited.
Correct.
You had never been to Seattle, and you said, yeah, we'll move there. We're off. And I mean, Seattle's a great city. So
amazing. Yeah.
Mostly, where the hell did you find Candace? Like
that's true. That is true. So 2 weeks before vet school started, and then she was with us and myself all through vet school. That's not easy. Not simple. So, yeah.
We have to give, the most massive shout out in the world to Candace because
correct.
Like, I kind of want to dive into the support. And you've talked about the support you had growing up. And the support that I see Candace deliver is off the charts.
Yeah,
you know, like
I would agree.
When you have these opportunities to sort of pivot and kind of completely move, she's always game. And it's not like Candace is just a follower. Like in her own way, she's incredibly driven and doing her own thing.
Yep.
But it always
she has her own professional career. She had the opportunity to work down in the States with Amazon. That set her up for even where she is in her current role. Yep. And she's going to be mad that I'm talking about her on a podcast, but oh well.
I guess I never asked her permission.
Me neither.
But I mean, it's so amazing the amount of support you get. So I don't know, like, do you have any like secret sauce you can share around that? Like, how do you guys make that work?
Be very careful for the people that you surround yourself with. I am a huge adage. Jim Rohn, speaks that, you are the culmination of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And I am a true believer in that. Candace is a true believer in that. That one I'll take to the grave.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you guys nailed it. Like as a couple, I mean, what a fit. Okay. So down in Seattle, then back up to Canada and entered into, I guess it was AVC at the time, VCA, it's now known as, and that's been like, I don't know if I want to say the bulk of your career, but like a significant role where you did some like pretty significant and impressive things, I would say. So walk us into that a little bit. What does that look like and where did you end up?
Very briefly, had the opportunity to take on, so had been a practicing vet, wanted to come back to Canada and continue to locum in a capacity, and AVC, now VCA Canada, allowed me to take all the skills that I had gained through Novartis and through practice and turn that into an operational role. And so therefore started in a smaller regional operations director role, still, large responsibility looking after a basket of clinics, and in operations means looking after the day-to-day business. And there's lots of veterinarians that ask, Jonathan, what do you do, or what did you do? And it is looking after the day-to-day business. And what that means is we're responsible for helping train our clinic managers, helping deal with recruiting, HR, operational. So from a lease standpoint, budget setups, finances, it was the culmination of everything I had done to date. And so therefore with AVC, with Stefan Horsky, who was the president, and Daryl Verbeek, who COO and now the president, they allowed me to take on that role, and forever thankful for them. So I did that role for, I think, 8 months before they asked whether I'd want to take on the role of general manager at Calgary North. So that was stepping back into a single practice, but that single practice was the start of AVC and is, what some would consider their flagship hospital, and is a hospital unlike any I've ever been in before or since, and so managed there for a year and a half directly.
And that's the full circle. That's back to when you were 10 years old volunteering.
That's correct. Yep.
And that's amazing. So I mean, and I know that was just the start. Like with you had Calgary North, and I mean, at one point, weren't you managing hospitals kind of all over Western Canada? Yeah.
So the role after that general manager role was a new role within the company to split off our general practices and our specialty practices, because our specialty, it works different than what a general practice does. And so in Western Canada, 6 practices, hospitals, that I then oversaw as the senior regional operations director for specialty. So between myself and then there was my colleague out east, and then our national medical director who was on at that point as well too, Dr. Craig Mosley. We were responsible for those hospitals and again, an operational role. So it was definitely much more broad. So and so did that for 2.5 years just before.
So what's like in that role, how many like people would you be overseeing?
So I was directly responsible for just around, I think it was 530 individuals. Across the 6 hospitals, and then 6.5. Yep.
Okay. So, I mean, this episode is to help people get to know you. That is a tangent that we could drill down for episodes and episodes and episodes.
And I think it's going to come more to fruition as we talk through, right? Some of our guests that we're going to come on are going to have those past experiences where I've worked with them, and we'll get more direct into those experiences. I think that's where it'll start to show itself more.
So I'm not going to go too deep in there because we'll be hours long. One thing that I do want to touch on and ask about, like the challenges in that kind of a leadership role, overseeing 500 plus like employees. And I'm assuming when you say employees, that means like veterinarians, front end staff, techs, kind of the whole spectrum.
Specialists, you name it.
What would you say, what is the biggest challenge of that? Being in that role with that many people to sort of oversee?
Biggest challenge, the thing that pops to the front of my mind right away is trying not to be reactionary. I spent the first 12 to 18 months, and I'll admit this, to my GMs and learning and had multiple discussions, with my boss, that it's very easy just to jump from fire to fire because there are so many fires. You're both hiring, we have to do almost a full turnaround of the general managers in the different hospitals, which brings about so much opportunity, but there's still space and gaps there that you have to fill. At the same point, you have different recruiting needs at a point where specialists, very difficult to recruit, veterinarians, emergency hospitals that just getting busier and busier. And so therefore dealing with the needs of those individual clinics and hospitals and team members that are struggling because there's just too much work. We, for the last 4 years, have just been trying to keep our head above water. And there's multiple times where we were not doing that. And that is a consistent, continual struggle.
Yeah. Okay. And, like going through this in this fashion with you, like it makes sense when I see like your diverse background and then it kind of all coming together so that you can fill all of those different roles and wear all the hats that you need to wear when you're in that kind of position.
That's correct.
Yeah. So what is,
and nowhere near there yet. Like literally, I did that role for 2.5 years and I voluntarily resigned in the last year for a whole different range of reasons. But specifically that role, I could have spent my whole career there and definitely continue to learn. It's that big of a role.
Yeah. And that's where I was going next is what is next for Jonny?
Yeah. So in October of 2019, decided to step away from VCA Canada, and nothing negative against VCA Canada whatsoever. Some amazing people there I still stay in contact with, and I think I'll stay in contact with for the rest of my life and or are friends with in certain cases, which is amazing. Entrepreneurial drive, the want to go out on my own, it's always been there. My dad had his own little construction company, and always that entrepreneurial drive to businesses. I have some real estate with Candace on the side that we do. Really love that. Renovation projects, etc. The ability to take all of these pieces, bring them together in clinic ownership. Has been my goal, and I've wanted to do that and am pursuing that right now along with locum work. So getting back to the clinics, I did feel that I was a few steps removed from where I wanted to be at this point in my career. There was lots of meetings, there was lots of great relationships being formed, but they were too far off where I wanted to be clinically at this point in my career. So I wanted to come back to that. So I spent the last 7 months regaining skills that I had lost, and have been consulting now over the last 4 months. And I've enjoyed that way more than what I thought I would. Again, bringing some operational experience and leadership experience to some teams that needed it.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm excited as this sort of project moves forward. Like we can go so much into that. Like you have so much operational experience and wisdom. Like now we chat multiple times a week, but before we're chatting weekly. And I just love like the stuff that just through experience and doing. I mean, it's amazing. Stuff. Yeah.
I love doing it. Again, so if there's a place in veterinary medicine where I fit right now, that's the place.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. And like when we were chatting about all of this stuff, and I was like, how do you just like pivot like that? Like I've been out of practice almost 2 years, and the idea of going back scares me. And I remember you said, I know how to learn. Like that's just how you take everything on.
Yep. That's exactly it. If there's anything I learned from vet school, from undergrad, is I know how to learn. I'm not the smartest. I'll never be the smartest. I'm all right with that, but I know how to learn and I know how to take it in. So even going back into practice, reaching out to colleagues, a great colleague here in Calgary, she allowed me to come watch her surgeries the one day and then help me out on the next day. I can't thank her enough for that, because that set me up for having that confidence to go, okay, I can do this. I can remember how to do this, just getting down and doing what you need to do, which is reading, CE, all the rest of it that we all have to. I was no different. So in the last 7 months, that's getting back to basics.
Yeah. Just following your discipline, trusting the process, and away you go.
That's it. Yeah. And seeing what happens. And sometimes, again, you're going to fail. And wow, like being back in practice now, even yesterday, I'm looking at a new website where you can consult with, virtual specialists, etc. That didn't exist 10 years ago. I'm so excited to take that forward into some of the consulting work I'm doing now, into the practices that I buy. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Jonny. I mean, I could go for hours. We better start wrapping this up.
Correct.
Like I'm excited to move forward. I'm happy that everyone listening, that the guests got to know you a little bit better. I mean, I'm still learning things about you. We've been friends for over a decade. And just that amazing, like combination of visionary, like leadership, but with that like operational integration is an amazing skill set that you have.
Yeah, I appreciate that, buddy. And I'm looking forward to flipping the script next
putting me
episode.
On the hot seat, hey?
Got that right.
Okay, so we're gonna move in. This is just like a fun thing we want to do to wrap up every episode. A series of questions that we're gonna ask all of the guests, and you gotta
answer. We're gonna have a little fun of this.
Yeah, answer quickly. Some of them I know the answers to, but it'll be interesting to see what you have. So, cat or dog person?
Cat.
Represent. True or false? Since I was a kid, I always wanted to be a veterinarian.
We went into that already. Yeah. True. Yep. True. That or the NHL, and I'm not in the NHL, even though my wife wishes I was.
They're playing all the old reruns here with the lack of sports. Yeah. If you were in the NHL in the 80s, maybe you could have had a chance, I think.
It's true. Rick Wamsley, Mike Vernon.
How would your parents describe what you do for a living?
Guessing. Continuing to
it depends guess. what week they you ask them, I guess. Hey,
that's exactly it.
Yep.
What clinic am I at, or who am I helping, or where are you in North America? That would be their
there
question.
Was a time when I'd call you and I'd be like, where are you? Like, what city are you in? Because I would have no idea.
Yeah.
What is your favorite hobby?
Skiing.
Yeah.
Bar none. I want to be skiing until I'm 80 years old plus.
Yeah,
I love it.
I knew that answer. I do have to take a dig at you, because where did this woodworking thing come from?
Oh, it's in its infancy. We're not going there this morning.
Yeah, we are. Like, I have the controls here. So for the guests, Jonny and I were talking like just a week ago, and he's like, "Oh, I just built a birdhouse." And I mean, if I was to go on my phone and figure out who I need to call to build me a birdhouse, you're the last guy I'm calling.
I totally agree with you. That's why I need to learn how to do it.
Man, that blew me away. And I mean, I guess like knowing you better, it makes sense. Like you just like trying, challenging things.
That's exactly it.
Alrighty, what in this world are you most grateful for?
My family. Yep. That every day we get to go have fun and learn and grow together. It's amazing.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yep.
Okay, Jonny, we're just about done here. So honestly, thanks, man. I mean,
you did well. Good job for interview number 1. Looking forward to looking at these 10 years from now and
yeah,
what it looks like. I think you did great.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I mean, it is kind of challenging, but yeah, thank you, man. I mean, you're one of my best friends. I'm really excited. I mean, neither of us has any clue what this project is about. We're kind of winging it, but we're intentionally winging it. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. And just to wrap up this kind of sort of episode or story of Jonny, the last word goes to you. So what message do you want to leave for the veterinary community?
For the veterinary community, come on the journey with us. I'm excited about, again, similar to you, where this project is going to take us, because there's so many vets and veterinary team members that want to grow within their careers, whether that's where they are now or try something different. And I'm always so excited about the possibilities within veterinary medicine when you just look a little bit wider. And so for all of those that are out there, and I've had multiple conversations with people of this adage, is look a little wider. There's so many opportunities for people that want to take them, and we need more people, and we need people that want to step out.
Thank you for listening to the Veterinary Project Podcast. As a recap, on behalf of our hosts, the Veterinary Project Podcast will be releasing new episodes weekly, so be sure to tune in as we bring you more conversations aimed at helping you enjoy a life well lived. If you enjoyed what you heard on the show and you want to stay in the know, please like, love, and or subscribe to the podcast on the listening platform of your choosing, as we're available on all the usual suspects. If you know of others that may benefit from these conversations, we'd love it if you please share the show with them, as this will help us grow our community to reach more and more veterinary professionals. Speaking of which, if you are a veterinary professional and would like to get connected with more like-minded individuals who are joining us on this journey, please send an email to the Veterinary Project Podcast at gmail.com, and we'll invite you to be a part of our private Facebook group. General feedback, requests for information, or perhaps requests to be a guest on the show can also be sent to the Veterinary Project Podcast at gmail.com. Dr. Michael Bugg and Dr. Jonathan Leicht, thank you for listening to the show, and we'll catch you again next week for another episode of the Veterinary Project Podcast. Bye for now.